Yeah, let's talk to Michelle in Arizona.
Great.
Hey, Michelle, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good. Love your show. I've been watching it since the beginning, and you guys are just wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Let me tell you about myself a little bit. I'm trans, pan, and poly.
Nice.
I've also been a submissive in the BDSM lifestyle as a submissive for 30 years. Well, almost 30. But 5 years ago, I didn't know I was a girl yet. Mm-hmm. And my Dame, she was pegging me one night, and she said, "You're enjoying this way too much, so I'm going to be her girl." And that night I was in a little cute little cami and panties that matched, and I felt wonderful in it. Mm-hmm. And, she started feminizing me, training me as a sissy, mm-hmm. and that was fun too. And during that time, I, being a good submissive, I wanted to, please her and, do the parts. So I was teaching myself how to move and talk and move, kind of like a girl. And during this time, I realized I already know how to do this stuff. Mm-hmm. Secretly, all my life, when I wasn't paying attention or I was alone, I'd reach for something and then, I'd stretch out and, feel sexy, girly kind of thing, not realizing it. And my life just totally shifted. Mm. Everything fell into place. I've been a girl all my life and I never knew it. Mm-hmm. And since then, I've been working on my transition. I'm still in the lifestyle. And I've been on some sissy pages on FetLife and Facebook. And I'm thinking, I really miss that. But being a sissy is kind of traditionally a male role. Sure. Who's being emasculated and humiliated. And of course, that's always fun, too. And I'm kind of conflicted. And I was hoping for some advice on how I might rectify this, because...
Like recapture that magic a little bit?
And I just can't rectify that it's a male role, traditionally, sure. to be a sissy. And I'm just having trouble, would I be betraying myself?
Yeah. No, I think that's a really valid question and a difficult place that you find yourself in the sense that there's really not a direct female corollary for a female sissy per se. And I think that is a really interesting commentary on how we view women in this society, the idea that treating a man like a woman is a sort of inherently degrading thing, whereas treating a woman like a man is not at all received the same way. At the same time, I don't want to, run your sexuality too far to ground and make all of these assumptions, because there are plenty of cisgendered straight men that enjoy being sissified, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing inherently trans about that. At the same time, I wonder if part of what that was scratching the itch that was getting taken care of there wasn't this gendered aspect, this piece of your identity that was only coming out in certain places. And I don't know that you'll necessarily be able to recreate or recapture that exact moment or that exact feeling in any particular way, but I also don't know that there aren't plenty of incredible, sexy opportunities still ahead of you. I mean, there's certainly nothing wrong with being a woman who role plays as a man who's being sissified. I don't know if that really scratches those itches, but I want to point out that that's a valid action, and there's nothing weird or creepy or gross or gender betraying or problematic about exploring that fantasy in a private, safe way.
Okay. The way you just described it sounds like Victor Victoria.
I definitely I feel that in a way. I do not identify as just a woman. I am non-binary, but when I am having sex, I do enjoy playing a very feminine, submissive role sometimes. And so that also feels very odd, especially having come out to myself as somebody who doesn't really feel connected to all of those gender norms, to still enjoy all of that while having sex. And there is this very strange kind of conflict that goes on where you really do have to put up those categorizations and be able to say, okay, who I am right now is somebody who's going to have fun in the best way that they know how, and it's not going to impact who I am in the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's applicable to everybody, but I mean, that's kind of how I've managed to do it. I've managed to compartmentalize a little bit and be like, okay, when I go into this bedroom or wherever, this is who I'm going to play. I'm going to play this part because I know it makes me feel good. I know it makes my partner feel good. And when I walk back out, that doesn't reflect on who I am in the real world necessarily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sex is a sandbox. You get to play around, have fun, and it can be, of course, incredibly meaningful, but you're not obligated to anything out of it. I mean, that's
right.
Again, just something I feel like I said just today in my office is that when we talk about our sexuality, it's so often in these like adjectival terms. It's sort of like, I am a, and that's great. And you know, V talked about pride and the importance of that, and I hear and validate that. But I also want to say that you can just go and have sex, and it can just be that. It can just be that moment. It can be not that I am a submissive, not that I am a this, a that, or anything else. It's for the next hour, I would like to act as if I was a, you know? And you really do have permission to just get out there and have fun, see what sticks, see what you enjoy without it necessarily defining you or being part of your identity.
Also, just one last thing, and then we'll let you talk, Michelle. I kind of laugh because everything technically at one point was typically a male role.
Yeah, if it's a job,
so,
if it's a, I mean, if it's a thing that people do.
Basically, the entire history of the last, 100 years has been going into those spaces and saying, hey, this isn't just for men. So if you wanted to take that into the
if you can drive a car or conduct commerce or read and write or any of these things, you're already violating somebody's gender norm.
Hey,
so
do it.
You go and enjoy.
Okay. That sounds really helpful. Almost sounds like that I just kind of need to expand my mindset.
Yeah, and also giving yourself some patience because this is pretty new. I mean, I don't want to come in like 5 years into your journey and could tell you that this is all brand new and you haven't figured anything out because clearly it sounds like you have. But I also hope that you're having some patience with yourself because as you come to terms with this and, you know, whether you are transitioning with hormones or any other active steps in that sense, your body is changing just by simple fact that time is passing. You know, everything is just a moment in time. And so all of this is going to continue to change for better or for worse, whether you want it to or not. And it's okay to just sort of ride that out a bit until things get to where you want them to be.
Ooh, getting all Ecclesiastes up in here.
Yeah, right? Okay. I guess I deserved that. Like I threw my Bible at you. You can throw yours at mine. It's fine.
Well, actually, no, I am totally on hormones. In fact, I'm having my third birthday next week.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, so that's definitely a dramatic change to your body's physical experience. And Danielle, I hate to shut you out here. I'd love to hear what you might have to say about how the hormones and everything else, the transition, just the mental and physical experience that goes along with that might affect sexuality.
Yeah, you know, honestly, like I don't want to act like an expert, especially when it comes to hormones with transitioning, because that's not an area that I've spent a lot of time studying. But I love, Michelle, just going back to what you said, like the mindset, right? It's just like, just feeding more off of what they said. It's the allowing yourself, like, what am I making this mean about me, right? Like, and versus like, pleasure is possible for me as a sexual being. It doesn't necessarily have to equate to meaning something or creating some kind of identity. And so I think it's like, usually when we are making something mean something about us in a negative way, right? Or it's creating like a question of like, am I betraying myself in some way? Then that line of thinking is usually just not serving you, right? So when we're thinking about the goal of feeling empowered and feeling empowered with our pleasure and with our sexuality, and we can see that this questioning and this line of thinking isn't leading to that final destination of goal, we can also choose to use the ability of our mind to shift our thinking away from that kind of thoughts, right? So it's like, can I just show up and be there and enjoy myself sexually, because that's leading me and it feels really good and it's pleasure, and I can just leave the rest of that alone, and like with a hand on your heart and a big deep breath and just being like, I love you, keep going, keep leaning into pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's not that I really looked at it as, a negative thing. I mean, I'm totally happy as a girl, and being, when I was feminized and trained as a sissy, that was a wonderful time in my life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's not that... It's really hard to describe.
Yeah. And I didn't mean to label it as like a negative.
It's more like I used to be a square peg, and then I got my edges rounded off, and now I don't fit back into the square hole anymore.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it makes sense.
Yeah. No, I definitely hear that, and that may be your experience going forward. It might be worth, sort of enjoying the moments that you had without trying to recreate them. At the same time, it's very, very possible to be degraded as a woman. I struggle with what may or may not get me demonetized or, make my mother panic. But certainly there's a stream. Yeah, I know, right? At this point, it's a lost cause. But there's certainly a stream of, dirty talk coursing through me at all times. There are plenty of things that your partner can say and do, and certain ways to recapture a lot of what you loved about that earlier experience.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. Oh, I did have one really quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Your guys' peach there with the blindfold,
yes.
It's been sitting there for a year with the blindfold. Are you guys ever going to do something to it?
Oh, that happens off screen.
Yeah, it's a dirty, dirty peach, and it knows what it did, and it just sits there.
Okay,
you
fair enough.
can tell that the eggplant has plans for later.
Okay. Thanks, guys. You guys are great.
Hey, thanks for calling in.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, Michelle has the most adorable laugh. I just want her laugh on like as a ringtone.
Mm-hmm.
It's the cutest.